Janelle White. I'm with Viva Business Academy. In this session, we're going to teach you how to do a target audience profile. In the last session, we taught you a little bit about demographics and how demographics can really work for you. And defining your demographics is really important. The target audience profiling is going to teach you to really dive deep into who your customers are. So let's talk about what happens if you don't figure this out. What happens if you don't understand who your customers are? What will happen to your business? Well, you may not have revenue. Revenue sells. So if you don't have enough sales, you don't have enough revenue. If you don't have enough revenue, you don't have enough money to pay your bills. If you don't have enough money to pay your bills, you go out of business. So understanding your target audience profile is extremely important. Remember, the more that you understand your target audience and your demographics, you're going to build better marketing strategies. If you tell your marketing company, my clients are this, they will build a marketing strategy based on that. If that isn't true and your customers are something that look very different, then they're not going to appeal to the marketing strategy that your marketing company spent a lot of time, money, and resources in building for you. Another risk you take by not really understanding your demographics and not completing a target audience profiling is that you may build a business that doesn't have a market share. So let's move forward and discover a little bit more about a target audience profiling, also known as TAP. I had a client and she worked in providing products for the airline, the folks that used airlines, the pilots and the flight attendants. And it was a very specific product. And she hoped to market specifically to them. And she had a great market. She had a great marketing strategy. She had a great product. And she was making sales. It was great. It was awesome. And then something very dramatic happened in our world. And that was 9/11. 9/11 happened. And a lot of businesses suffered during 9/11. But hers ended up thriving. And the reason why her business thrived through that is that she had done a really great target audience profile. She was able to get into the minds of her customers and be able to write really great descriptions. So when the market shifted from only selling to pilots and flight attendants, she now had anybody that flew as a potential customer, and a much needed product, I might say. She was able to seize a market quickly and efficiently with a few changes, and a few changes in her marketing, a few changes in her marketing strategy. She was able to seize a whole entire market. So I want you to know that the shifts that she was able to make was really important for her business. She was able to provide a much needed product to many people who needed to travel. So it was really a good thing that she was able to do that. Let me give you one example. Another example that happened after 9/11 is prior to 9/11, quality was a real trigger point for people to buy. People wanted quality. You would hear that almost everywhere. Every marketing strategy, it was quality, quality, quality. After 9/11, there was some economic shifts that happened. The economics changed after 9/11. We had a lot of businesses that went out of businesses. We had a lot of people struggling financially. And so people stopped asking for quality and they wanted value. They wanted good value. Does that mean that they don't want quality? No, they wanted quality still. They just wanted it for a value price. And so if you were doing business with larger corporations, if you sold them quality, 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 they wouldn't buy. It wouldn't matter if it was the same price as if you said value, value, this is a great value, this is great product, a great value, they would buy. Even if it was the same price. There's a terminology, and that is a TAP analysis. TAP analysis is the philosophy of the person that's buying your products and services. By specifically working through your TAP analysis, it's going to tell you who your customers are, what they will buy, and what do you need to do in order to get them to buy. And it's an amazing process. So So the first section in the workbook, it says user information. You want to gather information about your user. The first question is, who will use your products and services? And is there a cycle to their purchase? If there is, you need to figure out what that cycle is. Will your customer be familiar with your product and services? Or is this a new product to them? Are they currently using another product and services? And if so, what are they using? So this talks about the usage of it. The more you understand about your customers, the better off you will be. So the first thing I want you to do is write a description. It may include age, gender, nationality, your typical demographics, and it may not. But I want you to write a physical description and then prioritize it. What's the most important thing that you need to know about your customers, and what's the least important thing you need to know about your customers? And do a rating. This is 5, this is 1. If 5 is really important, keep your 5s. 1 is least important. Let's not focus a whole entire marketing strategy on something that's all not that important. The next thing you have to ask is, how will your customers use your products and services? This sounds kind of silly, but you really do need to look at. There's a lot of products out there. Let me talk about Win product. Win is a hair product that is an all-in-one conditioner and shampoo. It's all-in-one. Have you guys heard of Win products? They had to change their philosophy. They had to change the consumer's philosophy on conditioner because it's an all-in-one program, right? And they came out and they had to educate people. Women still wanted to put an additional product on their hair, especially women. We wanted that conditioner. So there was an educational process. There was infomercial. There was a huge thing. Wynn did a really great job with their marketing campaign, I think, about educating women on how to use their products and services. So is this true for our products and services too? Absolutely it is. How people will use our products and services is drastically different. Let's go back to the Cup of Joe and the Coffee Divas that we talked about before. Did they use the products the same? They both drank the coffee same, but how they purchased was different. Okay, so as you can see, the more information you grab, the more information you'll have. The next thing you have to ask is, do they have a buying trend? What is a buying trend? Well, that is, do they buy at a particular time of the year? I think a really good example of a buying trend is for children's clothing. Children's clothing, most parents will buy at one particular time or another. Let's say I have a 6-year-old grandson and he's starting first grade, he's starting kindergarten in the fall. And his parents will buy school clothes for him at particular times. The first time that they're going to buy clothes for him is in the fall when he has to go back to school. The next time they will more likely than not buy school clothes for him is in the winter, Christmas. They'll buy him a coat and a jacket, clothes for Christmas. The next time they're more likely than not to buy clothes for him is in the spring. They'll buy him shorts and summer clothes and Easter clothes, right? And then they'll buy in the summer. So that's the buying trend for our children's clothing store. There are certain times that people are more likely than not to buy their products and services. If your business has a trend like that, you need to really identify it. We're going to talk about feast and famine markets down the road. So the more you understand about when people are going to buy your products and services, the better off you are when we go into that class later on. So the next question I ask is, do they have a vendor selection process? Vendor selection process is big in business-to-business sales. However, there is a lot of products that require a selection process. For instance, when I sold real estate when I lived in Utah, it was very different than when I sold real estate in Las Vegas. When I sold real estate in Las Vegas, it was generally the person that was buying the house and their significant other were the determining factors on whether or not they bought that house. In Utah, that was a very different experience. Generally speaking, not only was it the couple who were buying the house, but also their family members had input on where they bought the house and how much they paid, because it was very much a family culture. So a lot of times we needed to invite parents and of parents of the people buying the house into the closing room to make sure that we could get that closing. That was a different philosophy that we had in Las Vegas. The next question you have to ask is, does your consumer have a budget? Almost everybody has a budget in their head, whether or not it's written down or not. Everybody's got a budget. So if you think about your products and services, you need to think about, do they have a predetermined budget? When we go in and do impulse purchases are generally very low price point. You don't see people going out and buying a Mercedes on impulse unless they have a ton of money, right? Generally that requires more thought. So the general rule of thumb is, the least expensive it is, the faster that thought process is. The more expensive it is, the harder that thought process, right? The more money you spend. The next question you have to ask, does your potential customers have a buying trend that they will follow? And then, is there a learning curve to your business? Every business has some learning curve. If there's already products and services similar to yours on the market, it will be easier for your consumers to buy from you. If you're unique or you're different, there will be a learning curve. How much of a learning curve depends on your business. Let's talk about psychographics. That's the next section in your workbook. Psychographics is the psychological profile of your consumers. It's about how their thoughts are, how their ideas are, how they formulate their thought process. This will also help them determine how they make purchases. Once again, the thought process between an impulse purchase and a well thought out purchase is drastically different. You need to find where you're at in that spectrum and really understand, am I an impulse purchase or am I a well thought out purchase? The psychographics allows you to determine what the mindset of your consumers is when they make that purchase. So I tell my small business owners, let's jump in and let's find out, what are your customers' goals? Now, why do you think it's important for a small business owner to understand their consumers' goals? Well, it's important because they need to understand how their consumers, what their consumers expect from their experience, whether it be product or services. If you understand their goals, their aspirations, what they expect and what they need, and what you want to achieve, it will be much easier to provide products and services and build a marketing strategy that will work for them. Understanding the psychographics will also allow you to set expectations for your customers. You'll be able to tell your customers, this is what you can expect from your experience with our products and services. It will also allow you to do research on what is a good experience for your customer to have in your products and services, and what are their minimum standards. So let me give you a good example of how this plays out. Different consumers have different value systems. I had a lady that was selling a product, and her product was very specific and very, very niche. And her 3 competitors in her marketplace were really taking a large part of the product, a large part of the market share in her area. And so we started doing some research, and we found out that the competitors were doing the minimum level experience of the customer. So the customers were getting bare minimum what they expected to be satisfied. They weren't complaining, but they weren't overjoyed, right? We found out that those 3 competitors were very competitive with each other. They followed each other's product and services lines very, very closely. And so we decided to overshoot. charge a little more and give them top of the line. We're going to give them the best quality services that we could offer them in their marketplace and offer it a little bit more than the bare minimums. What she was able to do is, because she understood what that bottom level was minimum standard, people weren't complaining, but it still wasn't the overjoyed, over-the-top customer service. So she decided to go over-the-top customer service, a little bit more expensive to cover her expenses. And was she able to achieve the market share she was looking for? Absolutely, she was. She was able to have a good command on the market share right out of the gate and really able to demonstrate value to her customers. And that was a strategy that she used. It was very purposeful. It wasn't arbitrary. We decided to do it exactly like that, and she was very successful. She decided to do stellar, top of the line, and that was the difference in her market. That was her market strategy. I've also seen it work in the very reverse, where people have gone low price, low services, bare minimum, and that has worked. So you have to look at your market, look what else is out there, find out what the mindset of your customers are. Do they need bare minimum, or do they want stellar performance? So take some time, write some really good questions about the mindset of your customers. The more you understand about your prospective customers, the better you will be able to create interview questions that will get you your marketing strategy that you need. So let me give you a couple of tips. Every single marketing company will ask you, who are your demographics? How are you going to sell to your demographics? And you need to have a good understanding of that. You need to be the expert on your industry and your business. Don't spend your hard-earned dollars trying to figure this part out. Really understand the mindset of your customers and you will go much farther. Tweak the process as you go along. If you're not getting the result, tweak it. If you're not getting the results you're looking for, tweak it again. Don't just build a plan and think that one plan is going to work. If it's not working, tweak the plan until it does. So how can you get in the head of your customers? How can you figure out how they think? Well, it's a lot of research again. And we talked about that in our research one, where we talked about developing your products and services. Now, the polk directories, the libraries, industry periodicals are all great resources for you, and they will also help you determine the TAP analysis. Good luck with your TAP analysis. Spend some time on it. I promise you it will be well worth your time to really dive in and do the psychographics of your customers. My name's Janelle White. I'm with Vila Business Academy, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session.